Yes! I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look, man, I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I love new stuff. I have a ton of new stuff. I just bought a brand new monitor over the summer. I got new speakers a few months ago, and I got a freaking smartwatch for Christmas. So I get it. Excuse me, I just think it's important that we know what happens to the old stuff. In this video, we're gonna talk about the life cycle of our products, how upgrading makes us feel, and the effect that it has on human health. To do that, we're gonna look at 3 different places around the world: Lagos, Nigeria, Melbourne, Australia, and Guayu, China. It's pretty clear that the tech industry is moving at a pace that encourages us to upgrade our devices annually. It was just last December that I bought my Samsung Galaxy S6, and I switched over from the iPhone specifically so I could use the Gear VR. And I think it was like a few months. By the summer, it was too slow to actually run the apps, and now my battery lasts like 4.5 hours. Well, you wouldn't have that problem if you upgraded to the Galaxy S6. Yeah, I know. Getting a new phone just feels so good though. But when I talk about electronic waste, I'm not just referring to phones and tablets. These e-waste dumps include everything from landlines, PCs and laptops, modems and routers, servers, keyboards, hard drives, old TVs, new TVs, monitors, printers, scanners, projectors, speakers, and all of the wires that it takes to power these devices. So how does our garbage get all the way to Nigeria? That's like all the way in Africa. So let's say you're cleaning out your basement and you come across an old CRT television that you know you're never going to touch again. You can't just throw it out, because those dinosaurs contain at least 5... they contain at least 5 pounds of lead, and that can't go in a landfill. As of 2017, 25 states have passed legislation which bans the dumping of e-waste in landfills. These states have also implemented some form of e-waste recycling program. All of these states, except for California and Utah, require the manufacturer to pay for the recycling, which is good. Hold the companies accountable. Just what we want. Actually, wait. Most states really only cover TVs, monitors, and laptops. Okay, so the manufacturers don't really have to do that much. We need a bit more incentive. Well, that's just consumer waste. Wait till we talk about schools and businesses. So we're back to your old CRT. You're trying to get rid of it, but let's say you live in Florida, and Florida doesn't have a recycling program, but your friendly neighborhood Goodwill does. And that's great, because you can just drop it off at a Goodwill donation center, and they'll distribute it to one of their many locations where it will then... Wait. What are they doing? No. Excuse me, they wanted to donate that. Where are they taking that? Welcome to the Computer Village in scenic Lagos, Nigeria, an entire marketplace built around the exported e-waste from the first world. We know exactly where this waste comes from thanks to the work done by an investigation team from the Basel Action Network run by Jim Puckett. They placed tiny tracking devices and items that were donated to Goodwill, which eventually ended up in places like Lagos and Guayu, China. In Guayu, e-waste is stripped for parts and sold for scraps, while the rest is thrown away or burned. By allowing corporations to externalize costs by exporting waste, we're pushing the negative effects of the tech industry onto the health of the people and the environment of communities like Guayu. Now, you might be saying, it can't be all that bad. Just look at Lagos. It's not like they're living in huts. It looks like they got some pretty cool stuff. They've built an entire economy around it. And you'd be right. Lagos is a megacity after all, with over 15 million people, and houses one of the largest and busiest ports on the continent. There's no doubt that the rapid tech growth in developed countries is helping Nigeria burst into the information age, but it's not actually helping close the digital divide. There are 2 reasons for this. 1, it's waste. 2, it's not their waste. In order to build an independent tech industry in Nigeria, it needs to be local tech, not foreign waste.
I will tell you that we have greater percentage of those that cannot be used than those that can be used. Honestly speaking, I would say 75% of these items are not usable. The control is supposed to be from the international community, where these things are coming from. If they know they who has the facility to control these junks, allow this thing to come to African countries that have no facilities, then this is all wickedness. If the third world countries are being allowed as a dumping ground for items that are full of toxicity, then we are not helping the world. It is to me inhumanity to man.
So what happens in Lagos when someone can no longer fix a broken down CRT? Well, they can just drop it off at their friendly neighborhood Goodwill donation center, and they'll distribute it to the many locations where it will... Oh, there's no Goodwill in Nigeria? Well, then just toss it in the river, with the rest of the trash. Here, all that lead and mercury just kind of sort of seeps out into the ground. That's where all the water is. But hey, it's not all bad. Sometimes the cleanup crew rolls through and torches the whole pile, releasing carcinogens into the air. Jesus, we're moving on. I found this pretty interesting. Dell has this little section in their electronics disposition policy that says electronic waste is not to be exported to developing countries. They call this being a responsible neighbor, and I think other companies could learn a thing or two from them. Heck, they've already partnered with Goodwill. Oh, wait. So those aren't even strictly enforced policies? Our e-waste still ends up in a developing country? Okay, the Basel Action Network has been on the forefront of this and plans to continue using tracking devices to see exactly where our e-waste goes, even when we are donating or recycling it. That way we can turn around with cold, hard evidence to these companies that are taking shortcuts just to save money. Before we look at solutions, it's important to recognize that not all e-waste comes directly from consumers. As tech gets cheaper and cheaper, more businesses and schools can afford to upgrade, which leads to this. This guy from Melbourne makes a living scrapping industrial e-waste for valuable parts and precious metals like aluminum, copper, gold, titanium, and steel. Now, technology in schools is a completely separate issue, which we can talk about in another video.
And it's gonna take a minute.
But we really can't control the fact that companies have to upgrade their computers every few years. The scale and rate of the upgrades is just a little bit shocking, especially since this happens in cities all over the world. But hey, at least e-waste Ben is making a living off of it. So cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. All right, so let's talk solutions. Starting right at the beginning of the pipeline, we gotta rethink the way we think about tech. Actually, I'm not sure if you heard me. Let's rethink the way we think about. Moore's law may say that the processing power will continue to exponentially increase for the foreseeable future, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the hardware needs an upgrade every single year too. Google is working on Project Aura, which could turn out to be the world's first truly modular cell. Oh, no, never mind. They canceled that. See, now I'm wondering if modular tech is actually a good idea or not. It would cost more to make each individual piece, which means we would have to spend more, which means there would be less of a market for it. So even if it means we don't necessarily have to upgrade our devices every year, it might, in the long run, end up being just a little more trouble for the consumer as well as the manufacturer, and it might not be worth it. But if handled correctly, it could actually be a step in the right direction. Who knows? We want to see more product take-back programs and more accountability to ensure that these programs don't end up exporting the waste. Make the manufacturers pay right from the start, and you'll end up with a longer-lasting, less toxic, and more recyclable product. If it turns out that we can't change the industry and that we're just doomed for a future of monthly Apple keynote presentations, you could just, I don't know, just stop throwing your stuff away. Just let it sort of pile up in your basement. I was thinking of a few things as I was editing this video. The first being, I feel like I may have misrepresented Africa as a whole and Nigeria a little bit with the depiction I gave. Understand that we do throw our e-waste there. It does look like that, but it's not representative of the whole. So take it all with like a grain of salt. I just couldn't help but laugh at that one section because it's just so ridiculously horrible that people have to live there, and it couldn't be any more different than the life that I live. And although I empathize, there's a limit to that empathy and how much I can actually picture myself there, and it's so alien that I can't help but laugh. And I'm curious if other people feel that as well, or if I'm just a crazy person. The second thing I was thinking about was this little drawer that I have in my desk at home. It has all of my old cell phones in it, and it goes all the way back to like an old LG Envy to an iPhone 4 is the newest one in there. And I was thinking about how I have memories linked to every single one of those phones, and a certain portion of my life was handled by that phone. I viewed the world through that phone. I texted my friends, took pictures, and all of a sudden that technology has become obsolete. I was comparing it to the new phone, the S6, and they don't even compare. They're not in the same realm. I'm carrying around a computer all the time, essentially, and those could sort of go on the internet. It was just a different game, a different world, and I'm curious and really anxious to know how technology is going to shape the way I interact with the world, how I talk to my friends, how a consumer experience is going to change. Amazon Go is going to completely change the game. And I'm just curious as to how it's going to affect you personally, how it's affected you in the past, if you get those feelings of nostalgia. Because I felt wild nostalgia towards these phones, but I was kind of glad that they were left in the past. It's weird. And I think it's only going to get weirder. Which I don't know how I feel about. Let me know what you think.